Today's program is we want it as kind of a club assembly to kind of review the Rotary Foundation primarily, and just a few things on just club finances, just to share with the club, with everybody on that. So I'm going to share my screen. So one of the things that we were doing as of the last club assembly, we wanted to do is wanted to be more transparent on the finances, just so that everybody could see where where our money came in and where it came out. And Aaron West has this neat program that actually puts it into a diagram. We thought it would be much easier for everybody to kind of understand that a little bit. So anyhow, what you have, the way the diagrams are all set up is on the left-hand side are the revenue sources, and on the right-hand side is where the money goes to. So you can see this is the diagram for our club operations, where most of our income obviously comes in from dues. On the other side is where all our money goes to. So you see dues to district, to the international, some of our record keeping costs that we have to pay for our hosting our QuickBooks and having our tax turned on, software fees, etc. The meals is a net cost. Actually, we charged about $4,500-ish, and then but when we paid out and we received in about $4,000. So the net 438 is we have visitors that come and other costs that are over and above what we charge you. We don't make money on our meals. So, but then the rest of those costs are what's remaining for just club operations, just so you can see what happens there. The next one is this is our foundation, and Ginny and Curls are going to go in a lot more detail about this, but you can see that we've got an investment corpus so that we do have some dividends. We excess President's Purse money, which you'll see coming out of the President's Purse. Last year it was $5,664 went into the foundation, as well as additional, if the club actually has a profit at the end of the year, that goes into the foundation. The rest of it comes primarily from the brat stand. So that's where the revenue comes in from. And then what we do is we give out grants then, which Ginny's going to talk a lot more about. We give out grants to various not-for-profit associations in the city of Madison or the area. So, and then there's a very little small portion that goes for legal fees. So this is actually for the calendar year 2022. So that's so you know what the picture of it is. The finances were for the 6 months, the operating to date. The third chart we have here is this is the President's Purse. So we see where the President's Purse happy stands. Now this is actually started at the beginning of the year. We didn't actually raise that much in President's Purse yet this year. The $5,664 was the starting amount that Aaron's from rollover that we saw in the previous chart that's rolling into this year. So we haven't raised that much this year. I hope we can do as well as that by the time the end of the year comes. But then you can see where some of the expenses have gone so far this year. So there was a Rose Bowl with the Rose Bowl float, the international RI float we sponsored. Service project materials. We did the book donation to One City Schools. Christmas cookies, that one, and then the Ukrainian Relief Fund for the district. We contributed that. And then the excess that was left over in the President's Purse from last year went into the Rotary Foundation. So you kind of see how that goes. And then the last one we have is the brat stand. Aaron's going to come up and talk about that.
Nina and Janet, you guys know where our brat stand is?
Yeah, so our brat stand has been operating for 50 years. It is directly across from Gate 1 entrance to the stadium, so next to the fire station on Monroe Street. And we sell brats, burgers, beers, soda, water, And this is our main fundraiser for our club. So you can see again on the left-hand side for the income, primarily from sales. So that $69,891 includes sales and tips that we had. We also sell signs for the banners for a lot of our club members, businesses and community businesses that want to advertise. So we had $5,100 from that. And then donations, we do get a $3,000 donation from Frank Beverage. That's our our beer provider that they donate to us. And then some club members donated another $500. So you can see that our total brat income was $78,491 from last season, which, as you guys may recall, was a record year. But then you can see, you know, we had only 6 games this year, which because we canceled one of the brat stands. So normally there's 7 home games. So with that, we had costs for beer of $8,800 some dollars, food about $8,600, then condiments, lots of mustard for $1,000. The contingency fund is what we put away for future repairs and trailers and stuff like that. So that's the $3,000. Licenses, the square fees, that's for our credit cards to be able to take the credit card payments, which we did really well with this year. And we'll probably be getting more of those square devices so we can take even more card payments next year. Insurance, a couple repair things, porta potties, the porta potty, I guess. Utilities, because we obviously have electricity. And then, so those are the main, I would say, operational expenses of running the brat stand. And then from the proceeds, the net proceeds of the brat stand, we use $250 for the St. Mary's Bingo Party. I think that's the winning awards that we give out to those people that are winning. And the Outstanding Student Award, that's the $1,000 there. And then the rest of it that's remaining, here it's showing $51,264 will be available for the foundation, to go to the foundation. So this year we transferred 46,000 of that in order to just leave a little bit behind because we have some additional expenses that we might have for the brat stand. But I mean, you can see we had, you know, $78,000 in income and 51,000 of it is going to charity, basically. So our charitable endeavors. So pretty good for that.
Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah. It's a percentage of, yeah, so it's like 2.75% or something of all of the sales for credit card processing, Square charges. Which
I know, if you usually know how much we actually ran, we could do the math, I'm sure, back. If we knew the actual percentage, just usually like see how much we're swiping and keep track.
Oh, yeah, I do have,
Yeah,
I do have all of that if we wanted to look at it.
As we become a cashless society.
Yes.
So,
Well, and Aaron, so that this does not include this, the revenue here does not include the tips.
It does include the tips.
It does include the tips.
Correct.
Okay, so it includes, okay, that's what the difference. Okay, so 5,000 of this is going to then the Polio Plus.
Oh.
So that's the, so of this 5,000 is going to polio, 46,000 is going to the foundation. The 46,000 that goes to the foundation this year will be, and Ginny will get into this, but it will cover grants, scholarships, and international, where in the past, the international and scholarships used to be done at the club level. We are having the foundation is now assuming responsibility for all 3 of those things. So, that's all I had on the slides, just to kind of give you kind of the financial side of this. So then Jenny's going to come up here and she's going to share more about the foundation. And we're going to switch over computers here real quick. So online folks, hang on here. Let's see.
And for our visitors, we should explain that Madison South Rotary Foundation and the Rotary
Yes.
Was it 1985? We never get a road in Angola. It was 85. That was 165 in 1985 with that building. Both of my uncles and my mom and dad. So now, so between us, we donated, I don't know how many.
See if people
online foundation, World Health Organization, UNICEF.
Don't.
We're down to two
This
countries.
back here somewhere. Where are you gonna see it?
Afghanistan,
Right here.
Pakistan, which have the same
Gotta
border.
hear this.
Not the best countries in the world to try to get.
You don't
in.
need to
Some
see
of our
me.
People have actually died.
They should see that one.
Okay.
So just like smallpox, we're trying to get rid of this stuff, but sometimes we like to say, we don't like to say, it's only a plane right away. Yeah,
Okay, I'm going to talk fast up here. So this presentation is about Madison South Rotary Foundation Incorporated, past, present, and future. So in the beginning, articles of incorporation were executed by the undersigned people for the purpose of forming a corporation under Wisconsin statutes without stock and not for profit. The name is Madison South Rotary Foundation Incorporated. Period of existence is perpetual.
I'm gonna ask you to put that on, so that you clip that on somehow and you can hang on to it however you want to. Just so that people can hear you and.
Does that help?
yeah.
Okay. It's organized exclusively for charitable and educational purposes, including making of distributions to organizations that qualify as exempt under 501c3. So we can only give out money to 501c3 through grants. And the articles were signed by George Kroll, Richard Frey, I'm not sure if that pronunciation is correct, Bob Gorsuch, Carl Hillner, Jim Johnson, Don O'Dare, David Gill, Virgil Grenis, Richard Rayberg, Richard Spring, Don Taylor, and John Youngquist. And the members of the corporation are all of you in the club. If people leave the club, they're no longer members of the corporation. We were incorporated September 11th, 1978. And the Madison South Rotary Foundation is itself a 501c3. So if people want charitable credit on their taxes, they need to donate to the foundation rather than the club. The club is not a 501c3. Founding members who are still in our club are George Kroll, Bob Gorsuch, Jim Johnson, would you like to wave? There he is, and Don Taylor. And I asked Don to say a few words about what the founding members were thinking when they founded this. What were they hoping for?
Thank you, Jenny. This piece of paper is from my 7 Ps. You all know what that is, right? Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. So all of those 12 people that were up there, at one of our meetings, somebody brought up the subject of all of this money that we were collecting and not having it invested. And in addition to those 12 that were on the list, Bill Muntz, Steve's dad, the attorney, and Jack Meehan, the manager of A.G. Edwards investment firm here in Madison at the time, got involved also in determining how we could go about setting up this 501c3 organization and getting the money into A.G. Edwards and invested so we'd be earning something over the time period between our collections and when we gave it out, because we didn't give it all out back then. Most of it stayed in reserves, and we'd take a percentage of the earnings and a percentage of the amount in principal and use that to give our grants. So of those people that are still around, there's 4 of them, and I don't know if there are any other. John Youngquist is still amongst us.
Not in our club, though.
Pardon?
Not in our
Not
club.
a member of
These
the
are
club,
people
right.
who are still club.
And about 6 or so of them have passed away. Dick Fry, Carl Hilmer, Don O'Dare, Dick Rayburn, Dick Sprain. So,
Bill Munt and, who else was Jack?
Jack Meehan, both have also passed away. They weren't members of that 10 that formed it, but assisted us in the process of getting it to be a 501c3 and getting the account set up to invest in.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don. So the foundation has an illustrative background, and today I'm just going to gloss over some of these things. I think you can read them on the screen as we go along. The members of the club are members of the corporation. So all of you are this corporation. We have an annual meeting in June every year. There are 9 board of directors, and there are rules about how many have to be new members to the club at least 1 year, and how many have to be members for 6 years of the club. At-large directors serve a 3-year term. And then there are regulations about coming back and serving a second term. The board is the nominating committee for all at-large directors, and we will be having an election in June to decide 2 open positions that will be open for the next Rotary year. I'm the board chair. Feroz is the vice chair. Mike True is our secretary. And Mike True is filling Erin West's term. She is technically our past president, but when she became the brat czar, she then took a position on the Rotary Club board, and our bylaws say you cannot be on both of those boards at the same time. Dan Millman is representing the club on the foundation. Joe Ballas, Paula Posine, Steve Eilert, and George Silverwood are also members. We monitor the money market fund and the investment fund. These are managed by Walter Dewey of Resident Capital, and all of our accounts are with Charles Schwab. I'm not sure if you can see this from where you're sitting, but the bottom lines are in our money market fund, we have $37,000. And in our investment account, we have $197,000. And we try not to touch that investment account, but last year we had to dip into the corpus because the Broadstand returns were not as good as we had hoped in order to fund all of our grants that we wanted to do. So the big job of the corporation is to set up the annual grant applications, solicit applicants. I've written to everybody who's ever applied to us and asked them to submit an application again this year. We review these applications individually at the board level, and then we all get together and we select the recipients as a board. And this is from last year's selection process. It's about a 3.5 hour process right there, plus all the hours the individuals have put in reviewing all of the applicants. The annual meetings in June, there's an annual election then. We publish an annual report, which you've seen Joe sent out a couple of them this year that will relate to what he's going to be talking about in a few minutes. We receive and manage income, and we disperse funds. So of course, our biggest income is the Broadstand proceeds. We also get money from donations from members that commemorate birthdays, anniversaries, and end of year gifts. And we have special fundraisers. I'm sorry, Aaron, our beautiful Aaron. Like scoops, Super Bowl squares, and we have a little donation square on our website for PayPal donations.
When Adam gets.
I don't have any awful pictures of Adam. I would put them up. And there are also investment returns to the corpus. We have an investment committee, and we are planning to recommend converting the money market fund into a balanced traded money market fund following this grant cycle, so that we can be earning some interest on that $37,000. Our expenses are the distributions of grants to other 501c3s. These are a few of the logos of people who've received our grants. And last year we gave $40,400 in grants out of $138,000 in requests. it was really hard to turn some of these people away because there are really worthy things going on in our community. And that is why we voted to take some money out of the corpus in order to fund that. New this year will be distribution of the Madison South Rotary Scholarship Funds. Randy is the chair of the scholarships, and the committee will decide who receives those scholarships, but the checks will be written through the corporation. And we'll also be writing checks for the international project funds. And these are pictures from our Guatemala project, and of course, Lynn Kinney, who spearheaded that for so many years. So we depend on the Madison South Rotary support of our community through grants, scholarships, international projects. We're dependent upon the brat stand. And what if we were to lose the brat stand? And this is what Joe is going to put fear of God into us with. As we look to the future, Joe, Mike Dillis, and Mike True met as our future foundation committee, and they've explored some options for where we might go if something happens to the brat stand or to augment our corpus. It's up to you, Joe. Do you want this little mic on you?
No, that's awesome. Thanks, Ginny. I want to thank Ginny for that preview. A lot of the information that she shared last week, I sent out copies of our annual reports that for the 2021 and for the 21-22 Rotary years. Annual reports were something new that we just started in June of 2021. That was the last time we had updated our club bylaws at our annual meeting. There was a couple of sentences in there, but one of them was directing the board for the foundation to publish an annual report every year. As you saw, the reports are pretty similar. We pretty much just updated the data or the statistical information in there. But one of the things that we talk about, and Mike Dillis and I and Mike True have been talking for a couple of years about this, is we put in that back of that final report, in fact, it's on the last page. Building tomorrow's Madison South Rotary Foundation, building our foundation for the future. Now, hats off to Jim, Don, all those guys back in the late 1970s for having the wherewithal to put this foundation together. Thank you guys for that. But we absolutely. I think I'm coming up on my 30th year as a member of this club, believe it or not, as a young police officer in the early 1990s. 20 of those years, I have been involved in some way, shape, or form with the Madison South Rotary Foundation. When I was president of the foundation during the 2000s, I had a lot of guys like Don, Jimmy, Rob Goose, others that talk to you offline, Dick or Glenn, and they tell you things. They're very proud of what we've done with the foundation, and I felt it was a huge honor to be able to take and move that work forward. But one of the things that the foundation does, and Ginny alluded to, is those relationships we build with the 501c3s. And yeah, that's $40,000 a year that we're giving out to organizations. But I tell you, a lot of them, people are here every single year presenting to us, and it's a way that we build the roots, our connections back to South Madison. And I couldn't be more proud of that. The other thing too is we've got a lot of people in our club, Paul, myself, Lisa Gitz, Lori, that we are involved in our own 501c3s. And this club has been very generous and gracious to supporting after school clubs, Habitat, Madison Community Policing Foundation, Starlings Volleyball. And trust me, we don't take that lightly, and we very much appreciate that. We're concerned though, going forward. We've been kind of on borrowed time, to be honest with you, with the fire station. Fire station, Station 4 was built in 1972. And Lieutenant Frank, who just retired, by the way, that I've actually been trying to recruit as a member into the club. He told me that during the COVID year, Steve Brown Apartments actually brought forward an idea about taking over that space down there and building an apartment building. Didn't go far, COVID hit, things got put on the back table, but things change, gang, and at some point in time, you know, I gotta believe if we can continue this through our lifetimes, the current generation in this club, it would be unbelievable. But to be honest with you, I don't think it's gonna happen. That said, Mike Dillis, myself, Mike True, we've been trying to think of how do we sustain this going forward? And the one thing we came up with, Mike has done a lot of work, Dillis, and he'd be talking today. And by the way, he's out in Hawaii, I believe, biking with his brother, so he would have been here. But downtown Rotary, you guys are familiar with that. They have a corpus of about $13-14 million that they have built over the years. Now, we're not seeking to become downtown Rotary, 400, 500 members, whatever they are now. But we do think that within this club, within say a 10-year window, we do think it's realistic that we could be on the verge of building a corpus of $1 million just with our existing and past club members. And if we built a corpus of $1 million and had a true corpus of $1 million, that could potentially generate for us 5%, $50,000 a year, absent a brat stand, if one were to go away. So that's the seed that we've been trying to plant with you all. But what we're going to do here in the next couple of weeks is we're going to take your temperature. As Jenny said, we are all Madison South Rotary Foundation. We are all part of that corporation. You elect a few of us to be the fiduciaries of the monies that we have today. I've got a Survey Monkey link with about 13 questions on it. Not going to take long, but I'd ask you to take your time going through it. And there's some open-ended questions that we really are looking for your thoughts, but we're going to take your temperature in here with regards to see if there's the interest in this club to work on growing that corpus. That corpus has always been around anywhere between the lowest it's ever been in my 20 years was 150,000 after the 2008 recession. But it's been as high as $250,000 when the market's peaking. But it's always kind of been right around $200,000. We want to see if there's the interest in this club to really take on that goal. And can we grow this thing over $1 million? A couple of the pathways that we see is making bequests and endowments to the foundation. And Mike True is going to help us get those attorneys involved. We're going to drop the paperwork so that people in our club, as part of your estate planning, you could take and donate or designate $5, $10, $50,000 to the Madison South Rotary Foundation upon your death. But we see that as a means of possibly over the next 10 years to be on our way. The other way is for individuals just to make, I mean, a lot of you, and we all make donations to Rotary International, but we're also looking to see if you part of your giving could be the Madison South Rotary Foundation to go directly to that corpus. But again, we want to take your temperature. We want to see where you're at with respect to that, because you know, I gotta give a shout out to Tara, what she did the year in COVID and putting together Rotary Scoops, and that was huge. But you saw how much work was involved, and we think we generated $13,000 that year in Rotary Scoop, and a lot of us donated a lot of money to it. But that was huge to be able to do that. Absent that brat stand, there's not another Rotary Club in Dane County that runs a fundraiser that's as profitable as what we do every football Saturday down there at 1437 Monroe Street. But someday that might go away. So when you get the survey link, we're going to send it out. Dan and I will communicate about. It'll be here in the next couple of days or so. I ask you all to take your time, go through it, and then we're going to report back to you, I believe, in about 3 or 4 weeks. And the board's going to meet first. We're going to talk about the survey data, what it looks like coming in, and then we'll put together a report and we'll get that out to everybody. That's all I've got. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for everybody for the presentation. Any questions? Does anybody have? Yes.
I just wanted to know, do we do or have we considered socially conscious investing?
Who's on the investment, socially conscious investing? Who's involved in investments? Is that you were,
Well,
Rose, maybe?
Yeah, one of the last presentation we had.
Yeah, Walter Dewey.
We don't have that kind of like ESG investment or whatever right now. We don't have a critical impact. It's just going by a balance of cash and conservative investment. We haven't looked at that.
So the answer is really nothing at this point in time. Okay. So the question for those people online was, is there any socially conscious investing going on? And at the present time, the answer is no. Steve.
A question more to Joe, and I thought that was a fabulous presentation, very interesting, thinking about the future. I'm wondering whether we have any political capital to carve out some of that land. We're supposed to have that in perpetuity, I thought.
99 yearly.
99 yearly.
We've got an easement. We deeded the property to the city, and we kept an easement to run the brat stand on Saturday, so it's not our property.
All right, but given the club's commitment to the community, wouldn't that mean something to the city council? And could we carve something out? No, you think?
I don't think
if it were developed, we would lose that entire spot.
I think, my own personal opinion, the city council would look at the bottom line financially, and they'd say, hey, you guys are a great bunch of people, but we can sell this property for a lot of money.
It's all about density right now.
Yeah.
The other thing to be said is that Madison South Rotary Park, as we like to call it, does not exist in the inventory of Madison Park. They do not know it exists.
Although they make a point.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, well, we can continue the discussion if you want to stick around. Thank you, everybody, for being present in person and on Zoom today. And I apologize for a few of you on the Zoom. This wasn't perfect like we have been in the past. We will get better at it. Tara will make sure that I get better at it. So in next week, we have John Fossil, Director of the Dane County School Consortium, and Annie Johnston from MMSD will be here to talk more about youth apprenticeship programs and their office's work to connect more students to career opportunities while they're in high school. Have a great Rotary week, and remember, service above self. See you later.
Yeah.